Good morning. Today we got a question on how to add dimensions of a part to bill of materials inside your drawing. We're going to take that one step further, and we're actually going to do a cut list from parts on this cabinet that we're working on. So this is some cabinets that I'm building for my basement right now. They're going to be bookshelves, and they're going to be surrounding Murphy bed. So you can see that's actually just 5 pretty simple cabinets. So we're going to focus on this lower cabinet here and go through the tutorial today. Again, we're going to be focusing on this cabinet, so I'm going to go ahead and start by just opening that cabinet. We can kind of talk about the parts that we want to make here. This cabinet is going to have a backer plate, 2 side plates, a top plate, 2 shelves, and a bottom plate. Because of the standard dimensions of a cabinet are 11 inches deep, this one's going to be double deep, so it's going to be 22 inches deep. I'm going to make it 48 inches tall, and then the actual span of it is going to be 30 inches. So those are just some dimensions to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and make one part that'll do everything we need. We're going to go to File, we're going to go New, and we're just going to start with a basic part. The first thing we're going to do is define some parameters. We're going to go into Configuration Properties, and we're going to add in a few properties. We need the length of the board. We're going to start with a full sheet of plywood. You'll have to excuse me, my computer's running a little slow today. So we'll do 96 inches because it's an 8 by 4 foot. So next thing we'll do is the width. And we're going to make the width 48 inches. And then we'll need the thickness of the piece of plywood that we're cutting. In this case, most of the pieces are going to be 3/4 inch. So we'll start there. And we're going to hit OK. And we're going to do our first sketch. So the sketch is going to be on the top plane. As always, I always try and stress trying to choose where your origin is going to be. Because your origin is going to go through all your planes. So if you want to use symmetric planes, you want to make sure that you grab your midpoints and make them aligned with your origin. So we're going to hit vertical on that one. We're going to grab this midpoint. We're going to put horizontal on that one. So again, now it's completely symmetric about that point. If I change this to 92, it's going to not be movable. Okay. So again, we want these to be a full sheet of plywood. But instead of just typing in the dimensions, what we're actually going to do, drag it up, double click on it, and make it equal a file property. So an equal sign file properties, we want this to be length. Again, if you drag it and double click, then you get this option. And we want this one to be width. All right, we should get a sigma off to the side, and that means that it's equation driven, which is what we want. We're going to hit OK. We're actually going to go double check our properties because our thickness didn't take. So we'll go into Configuration Properties. You see we have thickness? All right, so the reason the thickness didn't take is because I left it as a fraction, and we change that to a number. In fact, we can probably just change this to a number to really force the fact that that's what it is. Number. Okay. All right, next thing we're going to do is do simple extrusion. We're going to grab that sketch. And again, we're going to go mid-plane because we want it to be symmetric around that plane again. So we're going to do an equal sign. We're going to go to a file property, and there's our thickness. All right, hit OK. And now we have a simple part. Just to make it pretty, we're going to edit the material, and we're going to turn this to wood. Again, this is just for aesthetics. We're not actually going to use any of these properties. And that's our starting point. Let's go ahead and save this. So we're going to save this to my PC, and we're going to go ahead and put this in my parts bin, and we're just going to call this the cabinet part. Now you could stop here if we go to make a drawing from this part. And do a simple drawing. And we throw this bad boy in. those properties are now live. So we can come into tables, we do have a bill of materials, we can just grab that part, we only have the one. We can enter in our BOM, right click, insert a column to the right, grab a property, add in length. Similarly, we can do this with all of them. So again, we'll insert column to the right, change that down to width and thickness. And this is going to go off the page just a little bit. Let me bring it on back. There we go. So if you did every single part like this, you could save this as a starting part, template part, and you could make all your parts, and all the lengths, widths, and thicknesses would be included into your BOM. You actually want this across from quantity. We, however, are going to go one step further, and we're going to make one part. We're going to put multiple configurations in it. We'll change the part number and description to match the piece that we're making, and then we can have an entire cut list from a single part. So we are going to go ahead and put this down for now. Actually, we'll go ahead and close it here in a bit. We are going to insert a table. We're going to insert a Excel design table. We're going to auto create it. Go ahead and let it run the first time. The first time it's going to look for dimensions. Since we're not using dimensions, we don't have to worry about these. You could load these in and use those dimensions to drive the entire thing, but these dimensions can't get pulled into a bill of materials. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. It's not on my server, so it's going to do a little failure note there. And it'll open up this window. Go ahead and close that right off the bat. Go through the errors, go into your configurations tab, go down to tables, right click on it, and edit in a new table. We'll relaunch it. When we relaunch it, now it's going to look for properties. So here are all the parameters that we include. We want our description, we want our length, thickness, and width. We'll hit OK. And those will now be added. The first column here is the name of the configuration. The second one is the description we pulled in. This is a part name. So we're going to go through the parts we need. We need a back plate. We need a top plate. We need a bottom plate. We need sides. And we need shelves. You'll have to excuse me, my spelling is awful. Because this is an Excel document, we're also going to take advantage of Excel. So we can't really do any equations on the front page, but we can always do them in the back page. We can do simple equations, we just can't mess with any of these columns. So by going to a second page, we completely go get around that. And all I'm going to write in is cabinet dimensions. Okay, I'm going to have the span, which is going to be the width of my cabinet. I'm going to have the depth, and then I'm going to have the height of my cabinet. This cabinet is going to span 30 inches. It's going to be a double deep one, so it'll be 22 inches, and I want the height to be around 42 inches, so it's going to be a lower cabinet. I also want to name these cells, and that's just going to help me write equations later. So I'm going to type span into the naming box, hit enter to save it. So I'm going to type the word depth, and then I'm going to hit the enter key to save it. If there's something already named that, it'll actually fail, but we just want to make sure height. Okay, now all those are saved. We'll go into sheet 1, and now we'll go ahead and define these. The easiest thing to define is that the thickness for all of ours, except for the back plate is going to be 1/4 inch, and everything else is going to be 3/4 inch. Okay. The next is we kind of got to think about what the width means and what that's going to be in the real world. So the back plate is going to go across the entire span, and its length is actually going to be the total height of the cabinets. Okay. Top plate, its width is going to be the span. Gotta put an equal sign in. And its length is going to be the depth. The bottom plate is going to be inside the two side plates. So its width is actually going to be the span of the cabinet. Oops, span. but we're going to subtract the 2 widths of the side plates. So the side plate times 2, and its length is going to be the depth of the cabinet. But because we have some trim up front to kind of hide that ugly edge, we're going to subtract out the thickness of the bottom plate as well, because we're going to make it out of the same material. All right, the side plates, the width is going to be, again, the depth. Since this is going to be in front of the back plate, we'll subtract the thickness of the back plate off. And the height of it, or the length of it, is going to be the height of the cabinet. Okay, the shelves are going to be the same dimensions of the bottom plate. So I'm just going to come up here, I'm going to grab the bottom plate and just copy those. Let's make sure we don't have anything wrong here. The top plate is going to be over everything. Oh, I did forget something. On my drawing, if you remember, the top plate actually had an overhang off of the 2 side edges and the front edge. So again, I'm going to come over here. I'll type in a new thing, overhang. I'll make that 2 inches. Come back to sheet 1. So to these, the width, I'm going to add 2 overhangs here. Oh, I don't think I got my name right. Let's try that again. So I need to name this overhang. So we're going to do span plus overhang times 2. And we're going to do 1 overhang in the front. All right, so that should be our dimensions. We'll go ahead and for right now, we're going to put just the description is going to be the same as the name of the configuration. We'll save that and we'll close it. All right, it'll ask us if you want to add these configurations. We'll hit OK. And then they'll generate. We're going to right click on the part and we're going to rebuild all configurations. We're going to do that one more time, just because sometimes it doesn't work on the first go for some reason. And now I can jump through them. As you see, it should rebuild and refresh, and these should change sizes. There's the top plate. Yep, keep rebuilding. And so on and so forth. All right, so we're going to go ahead and save this. And we are going to quickly assemble a cabinet and see if all our dimensions are good. Okay, so that's primarily getting through the assembly. We've got one more shelf to put in. So I'm going to just select it. Whoops, I'm in mating. We'll get out of mating. I'm going to select it. I'm going to hold down the control key, and then I'm going to drag it in, and we can make a copy. Again, since these are all the same part, cabinet part, we can just jump through configurations by right-clicking on it, and we choose any part we want. Again, this is a shelf, so we'll keep it. In fact, what we'll actually do here, because it's exactly a shelf, we're going to go ahead and copy with mates. So we'll come on down, grab copy with mates. That part. No, it says it's too underdefined. Well, let me do it. All right, we'll do it the long way then. Grab that part, drag it out. There it is. We made it. We want this edge to be on the back wall. We want this one to be 28 inches from the ground. So type in 28. Sorry for the noise, all my fans just kicked on. Nice summer day today. Front plane to front plane. All right. So now we have our super simple, quick cabinet assembled. We'll go ahead and save this. And we're just going to save this as lower cabinet. And we'll make a quick drawing from it. We're just going to go ahead and throw in just an isometric view. Since this is in assembly, it's just a cut list. We'll do a bill of materials of that. And then we'll insert the properties. So again, we're going to right click on it, go to insert, column to the right. And we're going to throw in the length. We're going to insert another column to the right. We're going to make that width. We'll insert one more column to the right. And make that thickness. And there you go. So there's your cut list for your basic cabinets. But because we've done this all with tables, let's go ahead and save this real quick. I'll turn off those little guys. Since we've done this all with tables all the way through, we have a couple interesting consequences of that. If I open up the part, and I come into my table, it'll update the table, and I decide that I want a much smaller cabinet, so 11 inches deep, and only 24 inches wide. We come to sheet 1, all of these will update. We'll hit save, we'll close that. We'll rebuild all configurations. They'll all go to dashes, we'll rebuild all configurations again. They'll all go to check symbols. Good, we'll close that, we'll save it. And we can see that our cabinet's updated. It's quite a bit shorter, and it's quite a bit narrower. So we'll close that one as well. We'll save it. And our part list updated. Again, we can just see that our depths are quite a bit shorter. The span isn't as long, so it's going to use a lot less wood. So not only have we created one bookshelf, but now we've created a family of bookshelves. That by changing, if we want to change it to a smaller overhang, if we want to make it a shorter bookshelf in case we want to go 3 high. We can just change all those parameters inside that one document, and it'll change the rest of it. And again, it'll also generate a new cut sheet. So that's where we're going to end it today as my computer updates. Please reach out if you have any questions, and we can go through some finer details in the comments. All right, have a nice day.